There are people in the world now who are down here. Our world is seeing the worst food crisis it's seen in more than a generation. We've got hundreds of millions of newly middle-class people in Asia who are now eating like we do, which is a lot. We've had years of drought in Australia, which is having a major impact on grain supplies all over the world. Gas prices, you know those are up, don't you? That causes the cost of food to go up. It costs more to produce it, it costs more to transport it, it costs more to make fertilizer. Up to a quarter to a third of our corn crop this year will go to be making fuel so we can keep driving and driving and driving. It's pressure on the price of food that we are absorbing. We're seeing it. We're hurting. Prices are going up. But think about how much you're hurting. When we spend about 10% of our income on food, think how that affects the people in a great deal of the world, hundreds of millions of people who spend up to 90% of their income on food. There's not much to cut out in order to pay more for the same. So they're eating less and less and less. And while we're eating junk food and we're transporting luxury food from all over the world, bananas from Central America, fish from the coast of Africa, blueberries from wherever blueberries come from, tropical fruits, all the stuff that we just see every day in the grocery store that's just there all the time. People in Haiti are eating mud. People in Africa are eating the leaves off trees. It doesn't feel right now, during a recession, if we're in a recession, that we have a lot. And that, Jesus modeled, is what's most important to share. Our government has pressured, over decades, has pressured smaller governments, weaker governments, to stop subsidizing their farmers, even while we're giving billions to corporate ag giants here in America, to stop protecting their farmers. They pressure them to stop having tariffs that protect their farmers so that we can flood their markets with our cheaper food and undercut the farmers that are working in those nations. Those farmers are out of work, living in urban slums now, starving. They used to farm and grow food, now they're starving. That's our food policy that's made it that way. It's not just a sudden conglomeration of events. We've built it that way. And so this food crisis isn't going to go away by a magical miracle. We have to convince our government to stop giving billions of dollars to corporate giants and start focusing a little more on smaller farmers who are producing food that we can eat closer to home. We have to convince our government to stop pressuring small countries from undercutting their own farmers and leaving them set up for starvation. That's all long-term stuff. In the short term, starvation is short term. We need to be giving aid to these countries, to these people who are starving or on the brink of starvation. Jesus modeled the behavior for us. When 15,000 people were there surrounding him, he didn't say, fend for yourself. He held out a hand, and in that hand was bread and a couple of sour-looking fishes. As we look around the world and we see hundreds of millions of people on the brink of starvation, do we tell them to fend for themselves because we're hurting ourselves now? Or do we hold out a hand that's holding food? Jesus gave us the answer. He said it. You feed